introduce the gentleman of the evening, Mr. Charles Volpe.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, especially on this night because, like with most of you, I'm a basketball fan, and I know there's some NCAA tournament games going on, so we'll try not to keep you too long. It really is, we all hear the cliche about how time flies and where does it go, and I've said that 1,000 times like all of you. 17 years since I ran for governor is a staggering number for me. Probably hit home last week when I got my AARP card in the mail. I thought there had to be a mistake. But having turned 50 years of age recently, unfortunately, it is no mistake, and I didn't think this day would come, but it has. Now, people have told me and encouraging me to run this time that in the 17 years, it's like riding a bike, politics. And you'll remember how, and I hope that's true. We're going to find out. It is kind of coming back to me. I can tell you this campaign, as Frank has alluded to, got started probably the best way. And by that I mean it did not start originating from an ambition from a candidate. It did not start as my ambition. That was the farthest thing from my mind, I've got to tell you. But what happened is a few guys talking, and next thing you know, something gets on the internet, and then that internet spread pretty good. And these are things that weren't around back 17 years or 18 years ago when I was running for governor. But and a groundswell developed, and I was away trying to enjoy a little warm weather. My back isn't too good anymore. I found that maybe that's why I got the AARP card. Yeah. But at any rate, the phone calls started coming, and 2 days into this trip, the Scranton Times was on the phone, and which was kind of shocking. The Roger Random writer Boris called, and then I told him, no, I'm not running. This is preposterous. I know nothing about it. I didn't, and it kind of grew from there. And to make a long story short, by the time I got back, I had found myself in a position that this campaign, your campaign, was kind of a locomotive heading down the tracks. And I had a decision to make: either jump in front of it and throw myself in front of the train to stop it, or get on board and lead it. And I thought the time is right. I feel a certain sense of obligation. Things have gone well. We have done well. Nothing was handed to anybody. We didn't hit the lotto or the daily number, or we didn't clip coupons. My dad worked hard. A lot of you in this room knew him. He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways in the insurance business, and I've done pretty well following the framework that he laid out. But I also am reminded, I'm a student of political history, and I read a lot of it. I was always enamored by the Kennedys. And the reason being in particular was that what they heard is a call to public service. The idea that was handed down to them, to those who much is given, much is expected. So I was kind of facing that crossroads you get to in life where you give something back. You started as a young, energetic, somewhat naive, and young guy running for governor. And you may have forgotten about that and went about your business and coached bitty basketball and 8th grade basketball and some football and got to know a lot of your children and a lot of you through sports and other things. And that's why some of you are probably shocked to see the suit. It is mine. I didn't think cargo shorts or pants would be appropriate for this occasion. And I have to confess, it is a new suit. I didn't fit in the ones that I ran with 17 years ago. But at any rate, I really felt a sense of obligation that people are hurting out there. And you don't need me to tell you that. I mean, it struck close to home in a lot of places. I've seen businesses and people I've known in business shut down. I've seen thousands of people in this area lose their jobs. And, homes are going. We're one of the leaders in the country in foreclosures up here. People have lost their savings through no fault of their own, through mismanagement in New York and in Washington and other places. And so if I believe firmly in the concept, and I've often said that in campaigns past, that one person can make a difference. But this really isn't a one-person thing. This is a room here thing. And it's going to be much bigger than this, because I believe, like the atom splitting, that's what's going to happen with this. You need a person that represents you and not themselves. It's as simple as that. You need a person who's going there as a sacrifice, not to further their own ambitions or because they need a job. And this country was founded on that concept. The framers, the Benjamin Franklins, the Thomas Jeffersons, the George Washingtons, they viewed public service as giving something back for their wealth and their land, and they were governors of the colonies and eventually a new country 200 and some years ago. That's why they went to serve as a sacrifice to lend their leadership, their education, their abilities to people who were not in a position to do it for themselves. Somewhere along the line, that all got messed up. Special interests, vested interests. They buy into campaigns. They buy into politicians. The lifeblood of politics is money because it puts you on television and allows you to organize and hire professionals and get elected. So because of that, they have gotten way, way too much influence in our processes. And they're on both sides, and they all laugh about it. They clog everything up. The legislators get clogged up, and the congressmen get clogged up because the people that control them want it that way. They don't want anything to get done because things stay the same. Status quo stays the same. So as I look around now, and I sit there and get offended by things, now I understand, even though he's a member of my party, and even though I've supported him in the past, our governor's just come up with the idea that to meet expenses now, ever-escalating expenses, we're going to do away with 69 exemptions to sales tax, which means 69 different kinds of business in Pennsylvania. They never had to pay sales tax before, now have to pay sales tax. Now what is that going to do? That's going to be rolled off right onto you, the consumer, more charges, higher costs, inflation. What it's also going to do, since a lot of folks don't have the money anymore or lost their jobs to afford these things, you know what that's going to do? That's going to put those folks that have to levy the sales tax out of business. They're going to move to other states. They're going to take their jobs with them. Why doesn't anybody once say, how about we trim government? How about we cut some of the expenses? How about we do some of the things, the largesse that exists in Harrisburg, the state dinners that we pay for in addition to per diems that are tax-free? It offends me. As a businessman, as Frank has pointed out, when we do our pro forma at the beginning of the year and assess what our revenues are going to be, business we've gained and we can expect to keep, business we're going to probably lose, we figure out a calculation of what our revenues are going to be for the upcoming fiscal year. And you know what we do? We look at what our expenses were last year, and if our expenses exceed our revenues, we have to start making some cuts. That's things you do in your businesses every single day. And you are affected if you have jobs by business owners that have to deal with those things. But not our government. Oh, no, sir. We're going to raise taxes. That's what we're going to do. A lot of people, as I've traveled around this area recently, have asked me, what happened to the property taxes, Chuck? I said, what do you mean? We heard that when they bring in all these great casinos, and it's great, and now we're getting table games, that a lot of those revenues and taxes on the casinos, that's going to be funded back to local government to help and reduce the property tax. Has it happened? I haven't seen any of that money. Has anybody else? There's a lot of stuff going on out there that needs answering, but it needs answering. I'm not looking for credit or special things. Frank had mentioned, yeah, I'm going to help finance my campaign. I still need your help. I'm not taking any special interest money or any PAC money, but I want you a part of this. I'll obviously need to put a little more in than you, because I need to go down there and be independent. And if I'm taking money from every special interest, then I can't be. I can't take a $5,000 or $10,000 check from a special interest and then and forget who they are when there's legislation that needs tending to, or explanations and answers that need to be gotten. So that's some of the reasons